Hey rockers, welcome back. Rocking out, man. Yeah, man, I just thought I'd play a little music at the beginning of this video just for the hell of it, man. And that, of course, was my version of my own song, Empty, that I recorded with Pat McGlynn from the Bay City Rollers and Gordon Anthony from the metal band Holocaust. Recorded that in Scotland back in 2022. Hey, man, shout out to Gene Perfect for this perfectly killer t-shirt. Austin City Limits, always one of my favorite TV musical shows since, geez, I think the 70s. Got this in the mail from Gene, and I was totally surprised, man. I'm like, damn, dude. Thank you so much, Gene Perfect. You rock. Of course, Gene is out in Texas, and some of you might know him more famously for being the bass player. Or was it the guitar player? Gosh, leave a comment if you know. Gene played the bass guitar, I believe. He actually played in my band, Bloody Mess the Skabs, for a couple of weeks. Yep. Well, Gene was in G.G. Allin's band from the Texas, you know the name of the band, and another band, too, that escapes me at this point, the San Antonio Slime Buckets. That's right. Thank you for the shirt, Gene. You rock, brother, and the other stuff you sent. 3 thumbs up. Yeah. Rock and roll. Hey, man, I got a crazy little tale. I, for some reason, was thinking it was getting closer to Halloween than it is, because my 26th anniversary in radio is coming up on Halloween, right? So I was talking about the Halloween show coming up, got a little excited, kept thinking that the end of this week was our Halloween show, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I've got a month. And I was going to wait until, some stories about Halloween-related stuff, like crazy haunted stuff. But I thought, I hate waiting. Anticipation drives me nuts. And I was thinking about this little tale tonight to share with you guys concerning a haunted house. Yes. Now, this isn't some mega scary story. This is just a short tale, but it's a real one. And many of you know that this video series that I do is in actuality my book, because I don't want to write a book and publish a book and distribute a book, but this video hits thousands of people in every corner of the globe immediately. So, and it's always up later to be listened to and watched, right? So this video is just another tale from the chapters of my life, and this is one of them. Tracy and I moved here to Gold Hill, Oregon last Halloween, literally on Halloween. It was raining cats and dogs. It was a miserable day. I was having it out with my ex-landlord. It was just horrible. I had friends of mine helping me in a big U-Haul truck that we'd rented, packed full of all my stuff. We were all driving in the rain, and it was muddy where I moved to, because we live out here on a farm. And man, it was a crazy day, right? But the house we moved out of was even kind of crazier. We lived over in Ashland, Oregon for 6 or 7 years. Little mountain town in the southernmost part of Oregon. You keep going much further, you enter the first town in California, which is Yreka, California, just over the border from Ashland. So it's extreme southern Oregon as you can get. And we lived in this house in Ashland for 2 years. Prior to that, we lived in a smaller dwelling for about 6 years. But this house we rented from a friend of ours who was a local musician. I should say he's really not a friend anymore. That's another story. But we moved into this house. It's like a really nice, kind of well-to-do house. We were given promises that weren't kept about us paying the certain rent and these agreements we had. It's a long story, but we were there. We were kind of miserable because the rents were very expensive, but we maintained for a couple of years. And in the first month we were there, after renting this place in this really nice subdivision, which I didn't really want to live in this place, but we had this great deal that we kind of got, the sham end of it all later. But we were there for about a month, and I had kept noticing things in this house, right? I kept noticing things like lights coming on by themselves. And I kept thinking, man, I didn't turn that light on. Or I'd be in the bathroom shower thinking, I didn't turn the vent on after I took a shower, and the vent would come on. And other times I'd be in the bathroom getting ready for the day, and the lights would go on and off. there was times where I'd be walking down the hallway and I would hear footsteps behind me. And I'm like, what in the hell's going on here? Kind of creepy. Other times I would just feel a certain sensation and it would be very cold. Like I'd be in a part of the room where there was no draft, no windows open, no vent. There was no AC or heat going. But I would just feel this coldness when I'd walk through that area. Or if I just sat in a certain area, it would sometimes be cold. Kept happening, man. And I kept thinking, nah, surely it's just me. I'm just, no one else is noticing that. Tracy, if she noticed it, she'd say something and she'd call me out and say, what's going on? Whatever. But all of a sudden, one day, man, it got really weird. Like I had just had this overwhelming feeling of weirdness. And I remembered that when we moved in there, the landlord told me there's only been one owner of this house and one sole tenant. And that was the lady that had the house built back in the day. And we didn't know anything else about her, right? Except that she had passed away. And her son got the house for like a year, couldn't keep up with the payments. It's extremely expensive there in Ashland, Oregon. And he ended up selling the house, right? And this guy I know bought the house. So here we are renting the house. All this weird stuff's going on. And then one day I said to Tracy, man, I got to talk to you about some stuff. And she said, what do you want to talk about? I said, there's some weird shit happening in this house, man. And I just haven't wanted to say anything. But cumulatively, it's getting to be kind of hard to write off as coincidence, And Tracy said, are lights turning off and you're hearing footsteps and feeling cold spots? And I was like, yeah. So she started going on with her list of things, and then she broke down and told me, look, I've been experiencing this same thing for about a month. I just didn't want to say anything. I thought I was going crazy or that it was my imagination. So right then we were kind of like, well, we already know it's not a coincidence now. We know it's not our imagination because we had separate experiences, but the same ones. So I made a phone call to dear ex-landlord and said, hey, man. All right, no, it was a text message. Nobody calls anybody anymore. I texted him and I said, hey, man, I've got a question for you. He says, shoot. And I say, the lady that used to live in this house, the sole tenant, the old owner that had it built, did she die here in this house? And about 10 minutes later, he writes back, yes, she did. So yeah, man, I told him what happened and what had been happening. And you know what he said to me? I mean, he was immediately frightened. He texted back and he said something to the effect of, oh, my girlfriend stayed there for a couple nights and she says it's got really good energy, and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, I'm not negating that it has good energy. I'm just saying that there's an extra energy. It's not seeming diabolical. It doesn't seem dark. It doesn't seem like it's an enemy or something like that. Like I say, I don't think it was something to be feared necessarily. But I think some of the shreds of that lady were left there physically, you know what I mean? As far as energetically, some of her energy was still there. I don't know how to put it into words. You people that are into hauntings, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So I don't know. It didn't feel like it was something to be afraid of, put it that way. But I think maybe possibly there's some connection still with that world and this world. And I think that lady didn't want to leave the house. Or maybe she wanted to make it clear that this is my house. Because I've heard of many stories of that happening with people being attached to something. And when they die, they stay attached. And I can't explain it other than that. I'm not a Ghostbuster, not a scientist, none of that. But I can tell you that I know what I felt. Tracy knows what she felt. That place was haunted. If you look up haunted, by definition, if you look at any of the modern day ghost stories and the books we've read and the movies, it was haunted. I'm just glad that stuff didn't happen like flies coming out of the closet and like, eyeballs and, glowing red eyeballs from under the bed, or like stuff flying across the room, or like, growls in the night. Because, man, whoo, that would have probably got me out of Ashland a whole lot sooner. Hey, man, thanks for listening to my tale, the tales and rantings of an old rock and roll lunatic. Please take a minute to subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment if you want. If you have any haunting tales or you want to comment on this one, please take 1 second to give it a like down there. Just smash that button for me, my friends. I'm going to come and do a live sometime soon. Probably in the next couple of weeks. We'll do a live and have a little get together. Cheers from the bottom of my black little heart. From Bloody Mess Official, over and out. Oh, never mind. I thought I was going to be slick and pick up where the song left off, but I didn't hit pause. I hit stop. All right, man. Rock and roll. Stay away from those ghosts.